Introduction. For more than 2,000 years, the Thirukkural has stood as one of humanity's purest guides to righteous living. Written by the poet sage Thiruvalluvar, its 1,330 couplets offer timeless wisdom on virtue, wealth, and love, truths that remain as relevant today as they were in ancient Tamil civilization. Thirukkural is divided into three fundamental sections that represent the complete journey of human life. 1. Aram. Virtue, moral living. Focuses on character, ethics, discipline, compassion, and righteous conduct. 2. Paul. Wealth, governance and leadership. Explains how to build a good society, manage resources, govern with justice, and achieve success honorably. 3. Inbom. Love, human emotions. Explores the beauty, complexity, and depth of love, internal and interpersonal. Section. Aram. Virtue. The Aram section serves as the ethical cornerstone of the Thirukkural, guiding individuals towards a life of righteousness, purity, and social harmony. It covers personal conduct, family responsibilities, and civic duties, establishing the foundational virtues necessary for a fulfilling existence.
This chapter emphasizes the profound moral imperative of recognizing and remembering the good deeds done by others, valuing even the smallest act of kindness more than any material gift, and condemning ingratitude as the ultimate sin. Verse 101, saying, "A good deed done, even to a stranger, should always be remembered." Meaning, any act of kindness or assistance rendered, even if to someone unknown or undeserving, should always be deeply appreciated and remembered. Verse 102, saying, "A help given in adversity, though small, is worth the entire world." Meaning, an act of help provided during a time of great difficulty, regardless of its apparent size, holds a value equivalent to that of the entire world. Verse 103, saying, "Though the good deed be tiny, if it is timely, it is vast as the world." Meaning, even the most minor good deed, if performed at a crucial and opportune moment, becomes as significant and boundless as the world itself. Verse 104, saying, "The benefit of a good deed is not its measure, but the recipient's worth." Meaning, the true measure of a beneficial act is not its physical size or extent, but rather the greatness and worthiness of the person who receives it. Verse 105, saying, "A benefit received is greater than the world, if it was needed much." Meaning, a benefit or help received, if it was profoundly needed by the recipient, is considered to be of greater value than the entire world itself. Verse 106, saying, "Forget all except gratitude, cherish it always in your heart." Meaning, one may forget everything else, but the feeling of gratitude for a kindness received should always be cherished and held dear in one's heart. Verse 107, saying, "The memory of a good deed must endure through 7 births." Meaning, the remembrance of a benevolent act received should persist and remain vibrant through not just 1, but 7 successive lifetimes. Verse 108, saying, "To forget a good deed is evil, to forget evil is good." Meaning, it is morally wrong and considered an evil act to forget a kindness received, whereas it is virtuous and good to forget the harm done by others. Verse 109, saying, "One can escape a killer's harm, but never an ungrateful heart." Meaning, it is possible to evade the consequences of harming a killer, but there is no escape or redemption for the profound sin of ingratitude. Verse 110, saying, "No sin is greater than ingratitude, no virtue greater than gratitude." Meaning, there is no sin more grievous than ingratitude, and conversely, there is no virtue more exalted or meritorious than possessing a grateful heart. Chapter 12. Impartiality. This chapter champions the virtue of impartiality and fairness in all dealings, emphasizing that justice, objectivity, and freedom from bias are essential for righteous conduct and for a society's well-being. Verse 111. Saying, to decide a case without leaning to either side is true justice. Meaning, true justice is achieved when a decision is made without any bias or favoritism towards either party involved, upholding complete impartiality. Verse 112. Saying, the wealth of the impartial increases without end. Meaning, the prosperity and well-being of those who consistently practice impartiality and fairness are said to grow steadily and without limit. Verse 113. Saying, though others swerve, the wise hold fast to impartiality. Meaning, even if others deviate from the path of fairness, those who are truly wise and discerning remain steadfastly committed to impartiality. Verse 114. Saying, the impartial are honored in this world and the next. Meaning, individuals who consistently exhibit impartiality and fairness earn honor and respect not only in this earthly life but also in the spiritual realm. Verse 115. Saying, a merchant's balance should be perfectly even, like his mind. Meaning, a merchant's weighing scales should be perfectly balanced, just as his mind should be free from bias and perfectly impartial in all transactions. Verse 116. Saying, to act fairly, even when it costs, is the mark of true impartiality. Meaning, the true sign of impartiality is to act justly and fairly, even when doing so may incur personal loss or disadvantage. Verse 117. Saying, the life of an impartial person is a lamp to the world. Meaning, the life led by an impartial individual serves as a guiding light, illuminating the path of righteousness for the entire world. Verse 118. Saying, no blame attaches to the one whose judgments are always fair. Meaning, no fault or blame can ever be assigned to an individual whose decisions and judgments are consistently characterized by fairness and equity. Verse 119. Saying, the impartial person will never fall into ruin. Meaning, an individual who steadfastly upholds impartiality in all their dealings will never experience downfall or ruin. Verse 120. Saying, to abandon impartiality is to abandon all virtue. Meaning, the act of forsaking impartiality is tantamount to abandoning all other virtues, as impartiality is a foundational ethical principle. Chapter 13. Possessing self-control. This chapter highlights the critical importance of self-control, particularly over one's senses, speech, and actions. It positions self-restraint as a key virtue leading to spiritual growth, wisdom, and avoidance of harm. Verse 121. Saying, self-control is a treasure, greater than all other riches. Meaning, the virtue of self-control is considered an invaluable treasure, surpassing all other forms of wealth in its significance and benefit. Verse 122. Saying, the controlled mind will never stumble into sin. Meaning, a mind that is disciplined and controlled will consistently avoid falling into sinful actions or moral transgressions. Verse 123. Saying, to curb the five senses is to gain victory over oneself. Meaning, the act of restraining and controlling the five senses is considered a profound victory, signifying mastery over one's own inner nature. Verse 124. Saying, self-control leads to greatness, its absence leads to ruin. Meaning, the practice of self-control paves the way for achieving greatness, while the lack of it inevitably leads to downfall and destruction. Verse 125. Saying, the controlled tongue speaks only truth and kindness. Meaning, a tongue that is disciplined and controlled will only utter words that are truthful, kind, and beneficial, avoiding harshness or falsehood. Verse 126, saying, one who controls anger saves himself from many evils. Meaning, an individual who successfully controls their anger protects themselves from numerous negative consequences and moral pitfalls. Verse 127, saying, the controlled mind is a fortress, no evil can breach it. Meaning, a mind that is well controlled and disciplined acts as an impenetrable fortress, preventing any form of evil or negative influence from entering or causing harm. Verse 128, saying, better than penance is the control of tongue and senses. Meaning, the act of controlling one's tongue and senses is considered to be of greater merit and importance than performing rigorous forms of physical penance. Verse 129, saying, the truly self-controlled are respected by all. Meaning, individuals who exhibit true self-control and mastery over themselves earn the respect and admiration of everyone. Verse 130, saying, self-control is a shield against all harm, ensuring peace. Meaning, self-control serves as a powerful protective shield against all forms of harm and negativity, thereby ensuring inner peace and stability. Chapter 14, Possessing Propriety. This chapter highlights the importance of propriety, emphasizing that adherence to established moral codes and good conduct is fundamental for individuals and for the harmony and respect within society. Verse 131, saying, propriety is the seed of greatness, it must be cherished. Meaning, adherence to proper conduct and moral decorum is the fundamental seed from which all forms of personal greatness and societal respect sprout. It must be carefully nurtured. Verse 132, saying, propriety is the root of all good, without it, all efforts are vain. Meaning, propriety serves as the essential root from which all good qualities and beneficial actions spring. Without it, all efforts and achievements become meaningless. Verse 133, saying, the learned may speak well, but only the proper are truly wise. Meaning, while individuals may be highly educated and articulate, true wisdom is embodied only by those who consistently demonstrate proper and virtuous conduct. Verse 134, saying, though one possesses great wealth, if propriety is lacking, it is useless. Meaning, even if a person possesses immense material wealth, it is rendered useless and without true value if they lack proper conduct and moral decorum. Verse 135, saying, propriety protects one from harm, impropriety leads to ruin. Meaning, adhering to proper conduct acts as a protective shield, safeguarding an individual from harm, whereas a lack of propriety inevitably leads to downfall and destruction. Verse 136, saying, the world esteems the proper, it despises the improper. Meaning, society consistently holds in high regard those who exhibit proper conduct and moral decorum, while it equally disdains and rejects those who behave improperly. Verse 137, saying, the family's honor rests on the propriety of its members. Meaning, the reputation and honor of an entire family are intrinsically dependent upon the proper conduct and moral behavior of its individual members. Verse 138, saying, the wise guard their propriety as their very breath. Meaning, individuals who are truly wise and discerning protect and maintain their sense of propriety with the same vigilance they would guard their own life breath. Verse 139, saying, to transgress propriety, is to die 1,000 deaths. Meaning, to knowingly violate the established norms of propriety and good conduct is considered a grave offense, akin to suffering countless symbolic deaths in terms of reputation and self-respect. Verse 140, saying, propriety is the essence of life, all else is mere existence. Meaning, proper conduct and moral decorum constitute the true essence and meaning of a meaningful life, all other forms of existence are merely superficial. Chapter 15, Not Desiring Another's Wife. This chapter sternly condemns the sin of coveting or desiring another man's wife, emphasizing its destructive consequences for individuals, families, and societal morality. It highlights the importance of marital fidelity and respect. Verse 141, saying, to desire another's wife is a shame, bringing endless sorrow. Meaning, harboring desire for another man's wife is a profoundly shameful act that inevitably leads to boundless sorrow and regret. Verse 142, saying, he who looks with lust upon another's wife commits a grave sin. Meaning, a man who casts lustful eyes upon another man's wife is deemed to have committed a serious moral transgression and a profound sin. Verse 143, saying, the one who covets another's wife faces ruin and infamy. Meaning, an individual who harbors a covetous desire for another man's wife is destined to face both personal ruin and public disgrace. Verse 144, saying, even if one is rich, this sin brings poverty and distress. Meaning, even a wealthy person who commits the sin of desiring another's wife will eventually experience poverty and great mental distress. Verse 145, saying, to trespass upon another's wife is a mark of utter degradation. Meaning, the act of infringing upon the marital sanctity of another by desiring his wife signifies the lowest form of moral degradation. Verse 146, saying, the desire for another's wife is a fire that consumes one's virtue. Meaning, the illicit desire for another man's wife is likened to a destructive fire that consumes and incinerates all of one's accumulated virtues. Verse 147, saying, he who guards his mind from this evil is truly righteous. Meaning, the man who conscientiously protects his mind from harboring this particular evil desire is considered to be genuinely righteous and virtuous. Verse 148, saying, to refrain from another's wife leads to respect and purity. Meaning, abstaining from desiring another man's wife results in gaining respect and maintaining one's moral purity in the eyes of society. Verse 149, saying, only the virtuous will not covet another's wife. Meaning, it is only those individuals who are truly virtuous and possess strong moral character who will consistently refrain from coveting another man's wife. Verse 150, saying, to protect another's wife as one's own is the height of nobility. Meaning, to guard and protect the honor and dignity of another man's wife as one would one's own is considered the ultimate expression of nobility and high moral character. Chapter 16, Possessing Forbearance. This chapter praises the virtue of patience and forgiveness, emphasizing that enduring wrongs and extending grace to those who cause harm is a sign of immense strength, wisdom, and spiritual greatness, yielding peace. Verse 151, saying, to bear with those who offend is a strength greater than asceticism. Meaning, the ability to patiently endure the wrongs committed by those who offend you is a strength of character far superior to the practice of asceticism. Verse 152, saying, the patient earth endures, so should the noble soul. Meaning, Just as the patient earth silently bears all that falls upon it, so too should a noble soul endure wrongs with forbearance. Verse 153. Saying, "Forgive those who injure you, that is the greatest virtue." Meaning, the act of forgiving those who inflict harm upon you is considered the most supreme and profound of all virtues. Verse 154. Saying, "Endurance is the armor that protects from all wounds." Meaning, patience and forbearance serve as an impenetrable armor, protecting one from the emotional and spiritual wounds inflicted by others. Verse 155. Saying, "To ignore an insult is better than to avenge it." Meaning, it is far more virtuous and beneficial to overlook or ignore an insult rather than to seek revenge or retaliation for it. Verse 156. Saying, "Forbearance brings honor, revenge brings dishonor." Meaning, the practice of forbearance brings lasting honor and respect, whereas seeking revenge ultimately leads to disgrace and dishonor. Verse 157. Saying, "Those who suffer wrongs and still love are truly divine." Meaning, individuals who endure injustices and still maintain a loving heart towards their aggressors are considered to possess truly divine qualities. Verse 158. Saying, "The patience of the wise is an endless sea." Meaning, the patience and forbearance exhibited by truly wise individuals are boundless and extensive, like an endless ocean. Verse 159. Saying, "To endure the pain given by others is the height of human strength." Meaning, the ability to patiently bear the suffering inflicted by others is considered the ultimate demonstration of human strength and resilience. Verse 160. Saying, "Those who forgive and forget achieve lasting peace." Meaning, individuals who choose to forgive those who wronged them and subsequently forget the harm inflicted attain a profound and lasting inner peace. Chapter 17. Not envying. This chapter condemns envy as a destructive emotion, portraying it as a debilitating vice that not only harms the envier but also prevents them from achieving true happiness and spiritual growth. Verse 161. Saying, "Envy destroys one's own virtue and brings ruin." Meaning, the emotion of envy is inherently destructive, consuming one's own virtuous qualities and ultimately leading to personal downfall and ruin. Verse 162. Saying, "No greater evil than envy, it consumes the heart." Meaning, there is no vice more pernicious and destructive than envy, for it acts as a corrosive force that consumes and poisons the very heart of an individual. Verse 163. Saying, "The envious cannot prosper, for their minds are ever troubled." Meaning, individuals consumed by envy are incapable of achieving true prosperity, as their minds are perpetually disturbed and agitated by the success of others. Verse 164. Saying, "Even if one is wise, envy can lead to destruction." Meaning, even a person possessing great wisdom and intellect can be led to ruin and destruction if they succumb to the debilitating vice of envy. Verse 165. Saying, "Envy is a disease that gnaws at the soul, leaving no peace." Meaning, envy is likened to a corrosive disease that constantly gnaws at the inner essence of a person, leaving them with no inner peace or contentment. Verse 166. Saying, "The envious can never know true happiness or contentment." Meaning, those who harbor envy are fundamentally incapable of experiencing genuine happiness or lasting contentment in their lives. Verse 167. Saying, "Avoid envy, for it is the greatest enemy of the soul." Meaning, it is imperative to shun envy, as it acts as the most formidable internal enemy that relentlessly attacks and diminishes the soul. Verse 168. Saying, the virtuous mind is free from the stain of envy. Meaning, a mind that is truly virtuous and pure is inherently free from the contaminating stain and corrupting influence of envy. Verse 169. Saying, to rejoice in another's prosperity is a divine virtue. Meaning, to genuinely feel joy and happiness at the prosperity and success of another person is considered a noble and divine virtue. Verse 170. Saying, freedom from envy leads to true wealth and spiritual peace. Meaning, being liberated from the clutches of envy paves the way for attaining true wealth, both material and spiritual, and profound inner peace. Chapter 18. Not coveting. This chapter admonishes against coveting others' possessions, emphasizing that such desires lead to sin, ruin, and loss of honor. It promotes contentment and ethical acquisition of wealth. Verse 171. Saying, to covet another's wealth is a sin that brings destruction. Meaning, harboring a strong desire to possess another person's wealth is a sinful act that ultimately leads to one's own downfall and destruction. Verse 172. Saying, do not covet, for greed leads to endless troubles. Meaning, one should refrain from coveting, as uncontrolled greed inevitably results in a multitude of problems and unending distress. Verse 173. Saying, the covetous mind knows no peace, ever striving for more. Meaning, a mind driven by covetousness can never experience true peace or contentment, as it is perpetually striving to acquire more. Verse 174. Saying, even if you gain by coveting, it will not last long. Meaning, any gains acquired through coveting others' possessions, even if momentarily successful, will not endure for long and are destined to fade. Verse 175. Saying, to take another's wealth unjustly is to lose one's own. Meaning, the act of unjustly seizing another person's wealth ultimately results in the loss of one's own possessions and well-being. Verse 176. Saying, the covetous fall from grace and lose their good name. Meaning, individuals who are habitually covetous will experience a moral downfall and forfeit their good reputation and honor in society. Verse 177. Saying, only the truly wise are free from the vice of coveting. Meaning, it is exclusively those who are genuinely wise and discerning who are liberated from the destructive vice of coveting. Verse 178. Saying, to be content with one's own is a mark of noble character. Meaning, being satisfied with what one rightfully possesses is a clear indication of a noble character and a virtuous disposition. Verse 179. Saying, coveting brings sorrow, contentment brings joy. Meaning, the act of coveting leads to sorrow and dissatisfaction, whereas the virtue of contentment brings happiness and inner peace. Verse 180. Saying, he who guards his heart from covetousness is truly blessed. Meaning, an individual who diligently protects their heart and mind from the insidious desire of covetousness is considered truly blessed. Chapter 19. Not backbiting. This chapter strongly condemns the act of backbiting and speaking ill of others in their absence, emphasizing its destructive impact on relationships and one's own moral standing. It promotes speaking kindly and directly. Verse 181. Saying, do not speak ill of others behind their backs. Meaning, one should refrain from speaking negative or derogatory words about others when they are not present. Verse 182. Saying, to slander in absence is worse than lying in presence. Meaning, The act of slandering or defaming someone in their absence is considered a more grievous fault than even telling a lie in their presence. Verse 183. Saying, "What profit is there in speaking ill of others?" Meaning, there is absolutely no benefit or positive outcome to be gained from speaking ill or gossiping about other people. Verse 184. Saying, "The backbiter loses trust, no one will believe them." Meaning, an individual who engages in backbiting loses the trust of others, leading to a situation where no one will ultimately believe their words. Verse 185. Saying, "He who speaks ill of others will suffer their ill speech." Meaning, a person who habitually speaks ill of others behind their backs will inevitably find themselves subjected to similar negative speech from others. Verse 186. Saying, "If you cannot speak good, at least refrain from evil speech." Meaning, if one is unable to speak favorably or commendably about someone, it is at the very least virtuous to abstain from speaking ill of them. Verse 187. Saying, "The backbiter's words destroy friendships and create enmity." Meaning, the words of a backbiter are destructive, they have the power to ruin existing friendships and sow seeds of enmity between people. Verse 188. Saying, "To speak ill of another is to defile one's own soul." Meaning, the act of speaking negatively about another person in their absence is considered to be a defilement of one's own inner self and moral character. Verse 189. Saying, "The wise refrain from backbiting, knowing its harm." Meaning, individuals who are truly wise and discerning consciously abstain from backbiting, fully aware of the harm it inflicts. Verse 190. Saying, "To always speak good of others is the mark of a noble heart." Meaning, consistently speaking well and positively about others is a clear indication of a noble and virtuous heart. Chapter 20. Not speaking useless words. This chapter advocates for purposeful and meaningful speech, condemning the use of idle, trivial, or meaningless words. It emphasizes that valuable communication contributes to wisdom and avoids intellectual waste. Verse 191. Saying, "Do not speak words that are without purpose or meaning." Meaning, one should avoid uttering words that lack any significant purpose, meaning, or benefit. Verse 192. Saying, "Idle talk diminishes one's wisdom and reputation." Meaning, engaging in useless or trivial talk reduces an individual's perceived wisdom and harms their overall reputation. Verse 193. Saying, "The wise do not engage in meaningless conversations." Meaning, individuals who are truly wise and discerning do not participate in conversations that are devoid of any substantial meaning or purpose. Verse 194. Saying, "Words spoken in vain are like seeds sown on barren land." Meaning, words that are uttered without purpose or in vain are compared to seeds that are sown on barren, infertile land, they will yield no fruit. Verse 195. Saying, "He who speaks useful words gains respect from all." Meaning, a person who consistently speaks words that are useful, meaningful, and beneficial earns the respect and regard of everyone. Verse 196. Saying, "Better silence than speech that lacks all worth." Meaning, it is more virtuous and preferable to remain silent than to engage in speech that possesses no value, meaning, or substance. Verse 197. Saying, "The value of a man is measured by his words." Meaning, the true worth and character of an individual are often assessed and measured by the quality and substance of the words they speak. Verse 198. Saying, words that bring joy and benefit are truly golden. Meaning, words that bring happiness, comfort, and tangible benefit to others are considered truly precious, like gold. Verse 199. Saying, to waste breath on trivialities is a mark of foolishness. Meaning, squandering one's breath and energy on trivial or unimportant matters is a clear indication of a lack of wisdom or foolishness. Verse 200. Saying, speak only when necessary, and let your words be profound. Meaning, one should speak only when there is a clear necessity, and when speaking, one's words should be profound, meaningful, and impactful. Thank you, and please wait for the next chapters of the words of wisdom from Thirukkural.